Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs facing more time behind bars. His release date pushed back to June of 2028 instead of May of that same year. The news coming after reports of Combs drinking in prison, something he denies.
When you're selling out tours, going on red carpets, and sitting at the finest tables in every room, it's hard to believe you can ever be subject to the law. But the truth is, no amount of celebrity status could ever make you immune to it. Sadly, many celebrities had to find out the hard way. The thing about fame is that when you've got the entire world at your feet, it's not exactly easy to submit to the rules that govern it. From some of the biggest names in entertainment, all the way to business and politics, we've compiled a list of celebrities who have found themselves behind bars in 2026, or are still serving long prison sentences till today. Let's get started. Number 10. R. Kelly. We begin with a name that defined both musical success and legal infamy, R. Kelly. Robert Sylvester Kelly, known to millions as R. Kelly, once dominated R&B charts with hits like I Believe I Can Fly, Bump and Grind, and Ignition Remix. His smooth vocals and songwriting transformed him into a Grammy-winning figure and earned him the label King of R&B. But behind the success story were decades of allegations of sexual misconduct, allegations that would ultimately lead to his downfall. For over 20 years, R. Kelly faced accusations from multiple women and men alleging sexual abuse, exploitation, and coercion, some of which dated back to the 90s. With help from victims and survivors, as well as the 2019 Lifetime documentary Surviving R. Kelly, these allegations were amplified. Public scrutiny was renewed, and R. Kelly was finally arrested in Chicago on federal charges of CSAM, intimate trafficking, and obstruction of justice. In September 2021, a federal jury in Brooklyn convicted him on racketeering and trafficking charges, finding that he and his associates operated a criminal enterprise that recruited, controlled, and intimately exploited young women and underage girls across the U.S. The charges included violations of the Mann Act, a law prohibiting interstate transportation for illegal sexual activity. On June 29, 2022, U.S. District Judge Ann Donnelly sentenced him to 30 years in federal prison for those convictions. Prosecutors detailed a pattern of grooming, coercion, confinement, and exploitation that spanned decades, with multiple victims testifying to the psychological and physical control R. Kelly exerted. His defense denied his guilt and argued for a much lighter sentence, but the judge emphasized the severity, calling the crimes calculated and carefully planned. In a separate federal case in Chicago, Kelly was convicted in 2022 on CSAM and enticement charges and received a 20-year sentence, most of which runs concurrently with the Brooklyn sentence, with one additional year consecutive, effectively bringing his total to 31 years. As of early 2026, R. Kelly is incarcerated at the Federal Correctional Institution in Butner, North Carolina, with a projected release date around December 2045. He was 52 years old at the time of his conviction and will be 78 at the time of his release. Number 9. Danny Masterson. After playing Stephen Hyde on that 70s show, Danny Masterson saw his life transform in a way he'd never imagined. Going from struggling actor to household name had always been a lifelong dream for him. Unfortunately, everything he worked so hard for began to unravel following allegations of intimate assault spanning several years. The accusations came from multiple women, many of whom were part of the Church of Scientology, where Danny was a prominent member. These claims first surfaced publicly in 2017 and were reported by law enforcement over the following years. Danny was arrested on June 17, 2020, at the age of 43, after Los Angeles County prosecutors filed charges for 3 counts of non-consensual acts. Investigators described a pattern of abuse targeting women who were vulnerable and connected to his social circle. Danny denied all charges, maintaining his innocence and filing motions to dismiss the case early in the legal process. However, this didn't stop his trial from beginning in 2022 after delays due to legal motions and the COVID-19 pandemic. Prosecutors presented detailed testimony describing grooming, manipulation, and repeated abuse, while the defense challenged inconsistencies and credibility. After several weeks, the jury found Danny guilty on all counts in May 2023. On September 26, 2023, he was sentenced to 30 years to life in a California state prison. The judge emphasized the calculated and repeated nature of the offenses and the lasting damage inflicted on the victims. Today, Danny is incarcerated at a California correctional facility and is ineligible for parole for decades. At the time of his arrest, Masterson was 43, and if he serves the full sentence, he will remain behind bars into his 70s. He has filed appeals concerning evidentiary rulings and alleged juror issues, but as of 2026, all appeals have failed, and he remains imprisoned. Number 8. Elizabeth Holmes. Elizabeth Ann Holmes was once the poster child of Silicon Valley, the young founder of Theranos, a biotech startup that promised to revolutionize blood testing with a device that could run hundreds of diagnostics from a single drop of blood. Investors poured hundreds of millions of dollars into the company, which, at its peak, was valued at nearly $9 billion. Elizabeth was celebrated as a visionary leader, and everyone wanted a piece of what she had to offer. But beneath the hype, the technology was fundamentally flawed and often relied on standard lab machines rather than the proprietary device she touted. Investigative reporting in 2015 exposed these issues, setting off a chain of regulatory and legal scrutiny that ultimately led to her downfall. Holmes was indicted in 2018 alongside former Theranos president Ramesh Sunny Balwani on charges of wire fraud and conspiracy to defraud investors. After a high-profile trial that began in 2021, a federal jury in San Jose convicted her in November 2022 on 3 counts of wire fraud and 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud for knowingly misleading investors about Theranos' capabilities and financial prospects. Although she appealed her conviction, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld her convictions in 2025, leaving the sentence intact. Elizabeth's projected release date is now around late 2032, roughly 9 years and 7 months after she began serving her sentence, thanks to federal rules allowing inmates to earn good conduct time. At that point, she will be about 48 years old, having spent much of her late 30s and entire early 40s incarcerated. Elizabeth remains in a minimum security federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas, where she has reportedly engaged in routine work assignments and maintains contact with her family. Interestingly, she was recently spotted in photographs alongside another high-profile inmate, Ghislaine Maxwell, a former British socialite and associate of Jeffrey Epstein. Number 7. Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Noelle Marion Maxwell, once a well-connected British socialite and longtime associate of disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, became one of the most high-profile figures to face federal justice in the wake of his crimes. Unlike many wealthy elites who evade accountability, Ghislaine's case ended with a major conviction that continues to define her life today. Ghislaine was arrested in July 2020 at the age of 58, shortly after Epstein's arrest and subsequent death in custody. Prosecutors charged her with conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in illegal sexual activity, conspiracy to commit human trafficking for sexual exploitation, and related offenses for her role in aiding Epstein in recruiting and grooming underage girls for abuse. A jury in Manhattan found her guilty on 5 of 6 counts in December 2021, concluding that she had actively helped orchestrate a network of vulnerable young victims exploited by Epstein and his associates. On June 28, 2022, U.S. District Judge Allison J. Nathan sentenced Ghislaine to 20 years in federal prison, emphasizing the calculated nature of her conduct and the enduring damage inflicted upon victims. At sentencing, she was 60 years old. Her projected release date is July 17, 2037, meaning she will be about 75 when her sentence ends if there are no substantial reductions. Ghislaine's legal team continues to pursue appeals, Supreme Court review, and even potential pardon discussions, although none have resulted in her release as of 2026. Speaking of the federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas, let's move on to reality star turned inmate, Jennifer Shah. Number 6. Jennifer Shah. Known to millions as a main cast member of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Jennifer Shah became one of the first reality TV stars to face serious federal criminal charges. Jennifer was accused of running a large-scale telemarketing fraud scheme that targeted vulnerable individuals, including elderly customers. She allegedly convinced them to purchase expensive services and products through misleading claims. Prosecutors described it as a sophisticated operation that defrauded hundreds of victims out of millions of dollars. Jennifer was arrested in March 2021 at the age of 51 after an extensive investigation by federal authorities. She initially pleaded not guilty, but after evidence of her involvement in organizing, directing, and profiting from the scheme, she pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering in July 2022. Her guilty plea acknowledged her role in defrauding customers and coordinating others to execute the illegal operations. On January 6, 2023, Jennifer was sentenced to 6.5 years in federal prison and ordered to pay substantial restitution to the victims. She then began serving her sentence at the federal prison camp in Bryan, where she met Elizabeth and has reportedly been helping her navigate daily life in prison. Jennifer's projected release date was around mid-2029. However, she received sentence reductions for good behavior and program participation. On December 10, 2025, she was released from federal custody and transferred into community confinement, where she continues to serve the remainder of her sentence under supervision. But Jennifer isn't the only reality star serving long years behind bars. Number 5. Josh Duggar. Josh Duggar first rose to national fame as the eldest son of the ultra-conservative family featured on TLC's 19 Kids and Counting. For years, the Duggar family projected a carefully curated image built on faith, family values, and moral strictness. But behind that public image, Josh Duggar had already been involved in multiple scandals that would eventually lead to his incarceration. Josh was arrested on April 29, 2021, at the age of 33, after federal investigators charged him with receiving and possessing CSAM. Prosecutors revealed that the material had been downloaded to a computer at his workplace in Arkansas, using sophisticated methods to conceal activity. Josh pleaded not guilty, insisting that he was being framed and that the computer could have been accessed by others. His trial took place in late 2021, during which digital forensic experts testified that the material had been deliberately sought out and downloaded, and that Josh's personal devices and passwords were directly linked to the activity. After deliberating, the jury found him guilty on both counts in December that year. On May 25th, the next year, Josh was sentenced to 12 years and 7 months in federal prison, along with a period of supervised release after incarceration. As of 2026, Josh remains incarcerated at a federal correctional facility in Texas. His projected release date is in 2032, meaning he will be approximately 44 years old when he gets out, assuming no changes to his sentence. His appeals have so far failed, and court rulings have upheld both the conviction and the sentence. Number 4. Sam Bankman-Fried. Sam Bankman-Fried, once seen as the golden boy of the cryptocurrency world, rose to fame as the founder and CEO of FTX, one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world. With his casual appearance, high-profile political donations, and frequent media interviews, he presented himself as a genius entrepreneur, reshaping global finance. At its peak, FTX was valued at more than $30 billion, and Bankman-Fried was hailed as a visionary. That image collapsed in November 2022, when reports revealed that billions of dollars in customer funds had been misused and transferred to his hedge fund, Alameda Research. FTX filed for bankruptcy, triggering one of the largest financial scandals in modern history. Bankman-Fried was arrested in the Bahamas on December 12th, later that year, at the age of 30, and was later extradited to the United States to face federal charges. Prosecutors accused him of orchestrating a massive fraud scheme involving wire fraud, securities fraud, and money laundering, arguing that he knowingly misled customers, investors, and lenders while spending their money on luxury real estate, political donations, and business losses. Bankman-Fried pleaded not guilty and chose to testify in his own defense, denying criminal intent and insisting the collapse was the result of mismanagement rather than fraud. In November of the following year, a federal jury found him guilty on all major counts. Fast forward to March 28, 2024. He was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. At the time of sentencing, he was 32 years old. The judge described the crimes as deliberate and unprecedented in scale, noting the serious financial damage caused to millions of users worldwide. Today, Bankman-Fried remains incarcerated at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, while his appeals move slowly through the courts. His projected release date is in 2049, meaning he would be around 57 years old when released. Number 3. Jared Fogle. For years, Jared Fogle was one of the most recognizable advertising faces in America. As the longtime spokesman for Subway, he built a public image around weight loss, discipline, and personal transformation. His story was marketed as inspirational, a man who turned his life around. Who wouldn't want to hear him speak? But behind that image was a criminal case that would permanently dismantle his reputation. Federal investigators began scrutinizing Jared in 2014, following the arrest of his former associate who cooperated with authorities and provided extensive evidence. Jared was arrested in July 2015 at the age of 37 on federal charges related to CSAM and illicit sexual conduct involving minors. Prosecutors alleged that Jared had knowingly received and possessed CSAM and had also traveled across state lines to engage in illegal conduct with underage victims. In August 2015, Jared pleaded guilty to multiple charges, avoiding a trial by admitting his role in the crimes. During sentencing, prosecutors revealed the scope of the material involved and emphasized that the offenses were deliberate, repeated, and long-running. On November 19th, he was sentenced to 15 years and 8 months in federal prison. At sentencing, the judge rejected arguments for a lighter punishment, stating that Jared had abused both trust and access. He began serving his sentence at 40 years old, in a federal correctional institution and is still incarcerated. His projected release date is in 2030, meaning he will be approximately 52 years old when released. While incarcerated, Jared reportedly attempted to secure sentence reductions through legal filings, but these efforts were unsuccessful, and his conviction has remained intact. While Jared's crimes shocked advertisers and consumers alike, the next case takes us deeper into the music world, where a rapper known for gritty street narratives now serves multiple life sentences in one of the most secure prisons in America. Number 2. R.A. Diggs. Ronald Herron, known in the hip-hop world as Ra Diggs, built his reputation in the late 90s and early 2000s as a gritty New York rapper affiliated with the Rough Riders Collective. His music spoke of street life, crime, and survival, all themes that later took on a disturbing level of realism as his real-life activities came under federal investigation. Ra Diggs was arrested in January 2005 when he was just 30 years old, following a long-term federal probe into violent gang activity in Harlem. Prosecutors identified him as the leader of a criminal organization involved in murders, controlled substance distribution, armed robbery, and racketeering. According to court records, Ra Diggs was directly linked to multiple killings, which prosecutors described as acts carried out to maintain power and control over territory. He pleaded not guilty and chose to go to trial. During proceedings, witnesses, including former associates, testified to his role in ordering violent acts and orchestrating criminal operations. In 2007, a federal jury convicted him on several counts, including racketeering, violent crimes in aid of racketeering, and conspiracy. The verdict ensured there would be no realistic possibility of release. Ra Diggs was sentenced to multiple consecutive life sentences plus additional years, effectively guaranteeing he would never leave prison alive. At the time of sentencing, he was 33 years old. He has since been housed at ADX Florence in Colorado, often referred to as the Alcatraz of the Rockies, the most secure federal prison in the United States. Inmates there are typically confined to their cells for up to 23 hours a day, under extreme isolation. Today, Ra Diggs remains incarcerated under those life sentences, now in his early 50s, with no parole eligibility. His appeals and post-conviction filings have been consistently denied, and his convictions stand firm. The final name on this list represents a different kind of power entirely. Global influence, wealth, cultural dominance, and a legal battle that is still unfolding in real time. Number 1. Sean Diddy Combs. Sean John Combs, widely known as Diddy, was once one of the most powerful figures in global music and entertainment. As the founder of Bad Boy Records, he played a defining role in shaping hip-hop's commercial rise, building a business empire that extended into fashion, spirits, media, and television. By the early 2020s, his public image was that of a billionaire mogul whose influence reached far beyond music. That image began to fracture in late 2023 and 2024, when multiple civil lawsuits accused Diddy of exploitation, trafficking along with physical abuse, coercion, and intimidation, spanning several years. Though Diddy denied the allegations, the claims triggered federal scrutiny. In September of 2024, following a months-long investigation, Diddy was arrested by federal authorities and formally charged in connection with trafficking and racketeering-related offenses. At the time of his arrest, he was 55 years old. Prosecutors argued that he used his wealth, influence, and business infrastructure to facilitate exploitation, while also allegedly silencing accusers through settlements and non-disclosure agreements. Diddy entered not guilty pleas, and his legal team has consistently maintained that the accusations are false and exaggerated. His trial began in May 2025, and after weeks of testimony, a jury returned a mixed verdict on July 2, 2025. Diddy was acquitted of the most serious charges, racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking, but found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution involving former partners. On October 3, 2025, the judge sentenced him to 4 years and 2 months in federal prison, along with a $500,000 fine and 5 years of supervised release once his term ends. With credit for time already served since his arrest, his projected release date is in mid-2028, when he will be about 59 years old. Although Diddy has pursued post-conviction motions and appeals, including arguments about sentencing fairness and legal interpretations of the charges, and has even sought clemency, major relief has not been granted as of early 2026. Which of these convictions shocked you the most? Tell us in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.